Have you gone mad?
Yes, I know it's madness.
Okay, hello everybody, welcome back to the channel. This is a book haul video. So I haven't done a book haul video for a while, and I know I haven't because I started the Read What You Own challenge back in November. Yeah, and then I abandoned it. So there is a video on my channel which got a massive fail as a thumbnail, and it's called something like Why I'm Happy to Fail, and it's me binning off the Read What You Own challenge. So the Read What You Own challenge was an extremely good idea from I think a combination of Ollie from Criminolly and Greg from Another Bibliophile Reads. Those two were, I think, in a discussion on Discord, and they come up with the Read What You Own challenge. And there's different tiers. You could halt your buying while you read 25 books, or halt your buying while you read 50, or 75 or 100, going to different tiers. And I went with 25, knowing that was probably going to be about 4 months. So I was going to try and halt my reading for 4 months. It might have been 5 months. What tends to happen when I do something like this, I did it before. I did my own 30-book challenge last year in the summer, and it meant I just concentrated on short books. I was stressing about whether or not I was reading or not. When I wasn't reading, I was beating myself up about not reading, and it was just really a negative thing, even though the idea is brilliant, because I have got far too many books I haven't read, and I do need to sort that out. I need to do something about that, and I haven't figured out what it is yet, but I'm going to do another cull to try and get rid of some more books. I'm also aware that some of the books I haven't read, I am going to get rid of once I've read them. So that side of the Read What You Own challenge will result in my books being lowered in their quantity, but I've still got, even though I got rid of about 200 books last month, even though I did that, that still leaves me, because I counted all my books, that leaves me with around 1,600 books, which is a lot of books. But there are definitely things in here that I've bought because I want to read them and I don't want to keep them. So they are definitely more temporary. I know they are now. But I've found some really cool stuff. I've bought some stuff. Once I'd got rid of that challenge and said, no, I can't do this. It's too stressful. It's literally taken me ages. Anyway, blah, blah, blah. Let's go through these. So some of them I know more about than others. So this is 2 more additions to my Dresden Files collection. So this is Death Masks and Blood Rites. So as far as I know, I don't have these, but looking at it now, I'm wondering maybe I did have Blood Rites. I'm not sure. But these were £1, so clearly I'm not going to, or £2, sorry, £2. So bargain, had to get them. I've only 2 books into the Dresden Files series, but I do like them, and I've got about 11 or 12 of the books now, so, and I think I've got them in order, so that's pretty good. So that was 2 more for that. I've got I found another J.G. Ballard one I wanted, and actually once I started collecting his stuff, this was the one that intrigued me, so I was really pleased to see it in a shop. So I got the Unlimited Dream Company to go with the others. I do want to do some substantial J.G. Ballard reading this year, because I do want to talk about him on the channel. I haven't read enough yet to talk about him on the channel, but I do want to do that before the end of the year at least. So tell me if you've read that, The Unlimited Dream Company. I've started reading this short stories. I've started reading them already. I've found 2 H.G. Wells books. So this one I've never heard of before, Sleeper Awakes. I literally bought this yesterday. It was £1, and it's clearly an old library copy. Look. But I've never heard of the Sleeper Awakes, so I'm intrigued by this. And I tell you what, I read the introduction that he'd written. Yeah, I was looking at the author's preface there, and he talks about how he doesn't really agree with the politics behind the story, or the book itself now, and he thinks it was coming from a different vision of the future that he would have now. So when he wrote this, he was trying to make a point about how he thought the future was going, and in the introduction, this preface, he says that he doesn't think the future is going to go that way. So I think that's really interesting, and once I read that, I'll probably mention it on the channel, and talk about what he says in the preface. I might do a general H.G. Wells video and just include this as one of the 5 books. I'm not sure. But have you read The Sleeper Awakes? Because, again, recently I did a must-buy authors, the ones that I just grab and I see them. And H.G. Wells was mentioned because if I do see something I haven't got, I'll get it. So The Sleeper Awakes. I have really enjoyed the Carol Ann Duffy poetry books I've had. And this is a book that's edited by her called Answering Back. So I don't think this is just her, is it? No, this is all sorts of people. Emily Dickinson and W.H. Auden, Rudyard Kipling. Oh, it's If. I've got If now. And tons of people. W.B. Yeats, A.E. Housman, D.H. Lawrence, Thomas Hardy, Walt Whitman. Those are big names in poetry. D.H. Lawrence again. Allen Ginsberg. Oh, it's a selection from Howl. Dylan Thomas. So yeah, all sorts of people in here. So I got that anyway because I was intrigued. I've got this one, which is, again, Saramago. Could have been someone I mentioned in the must-buy authors. If I see anything by Jose Saramago, I usually want it. It's a book I didn't have, but I don't know a lot about it. And I do think he's a really interesting author. He's one of my favourites, but I don't think his prose is particularly entertaining to read, but it's what's within it. So I am going to talk about that a little bit in another video I'm going to do soon about prose versus storytelling. But I absolutely love his book Blindness. It's a horrible, ugly, brutal book, but it's amazing. And I've read a few of his others and I like them. So I do want to get anything I've seen, and I haven't seen this one before. Balthazar and Blanunda. So yeah, got that one to add to my Jose Saramago books, which I've got quite a lot of. This is one I'm not going to keep for long, but I wanted to read it. It's a book about Paul Simon. So again, I could read this for an event that I'm going to be starting soon, which I'll tell you about later. But Paul Simon, nice book about him. He's one of my heroes, so be interesting to know more about. I think it's got interviews with him directly in there as well. So yeah, Paul Simon. This is a selection of pieces of work by Chomsky, the eccentric Chomsky. Someone else I've got lots of books by him. Someone else I've always looked up to, but I haven't actually bought a Chomsky book for a while. So yeah, this was, as you can see, it's only £3, so that was from FOP. So I've talked about FOP before in a different video. If you don't know FOP, it's definitely worth checking them out. They're owned by HMV, and they're the great source for cheap books, and their selection is always really interesting. They put a lot of classics out there, modern classics, and lots of non-fiction that's worth reading as well. So Chomsky, the essential Chomsky. Whoops, that's falling down. Yeah, it was Cambridge FOP. That was where I got the Chomsky book. And I also got this. So I've finally got Mexican Gothic. I've heard so much about Mexican Gothic and the author, and I've never read anything by her. This was the one that I think made her famous, but she's written quite a lot. She's written at least 7 books, from what I can gather. But Mexican Gothic is one that I've heard about a lot, so I'm going to read that. If I don't read this before Halloween, I'll read it for Halloween. So I'll read it in September if I don't get to it yet before that. So Mexican Gothic, supposed to be amazing. So please let me know if you endorse that purchase. While I was in, this was in a second-hand shop in Salisbury, and I found this autobiography of Michael J. Fox. So I wasn't sure what I think about that, because I'm sure we think differently on life, but I really admire the way he's dealt with Parkinson's, and he's been such a great spokesperson for that kind of thing. So I was just curious to know more about him. So Michael J. Fox, got that. Again, that was only £1, I think. Yeah. A book I've heard a lot about, and there was actually some recent reviews. So over the last few months, I've seen quite a few people review this on their channel. And that's Tender is the Flesh. Another one, could be because it had a bit of a buzz last year. that I found it in a charity shop. So again, not a massive purchase, but definitely something I'm going to read, and I'm looking forward to reading this. So Tender is the Flesh I now have. So that was cool. I've got another J.G. Ballard one that doesn't have that sort of the white design that is in a lot of his books I've got, but this is one I hadn't even heard of, The Day of Creation. Again, I've got about 12 of his books now, and I can't wait to read this. The Day of Creation. I think it's one of his later ones. I found a Steinbeck one I didn't have. This is a really, really, really tiny book, but I hadn't heard this one before. I didn't know it. So Burning Bright, John Steinbeck one. So again, if you've read this, tell me if you think it's as good as, you know, The Pearl, Cannery Row, and The Red Pony, all that sort of stuff. I imagine it's, you know, a little bit of a small anecdotal story probably, but the way he writes is so brilliant. So John Steinbeck, Burning Bright. I've got another Edgar Rice Burroughs book, so shout out to Mike. I've got The People That Time Forgot now. So I am going to be starting the Princess of Mars series soon, and I'm also going to get to Tarzan of the Apes as well. Obviously, Tarzan's a massive part of our culture, and when I was a teenager, one of my favourite films that I really held close to my heart was Greystoke, Legend of Tarzan. I absolutely love that film so much. So that means a lot to me from that point of view. And when I was really little, you had the Ron Eli series as well that I know my dad liked. But Tarzan of the Apes, I'm going to read that soon. But I've had that a little while. This is a new purchase, The People That Time Forgot. So a little bit of pulp sci-fi, and I'm going to do a video about pulpiness in science fiction soon as well. So I'm looking forward to doing that. I'm hoping to do that over the weekend. But that's something else I'm going to read. Edgar Rice Burroughs. I actually found, this is a book I've bought many times, and I've already got a copy of this, but I couldn't resist it. It's absolutely fantastic condition. There is no creasing on this spine. So whoever read this, if it's been read before, they hardly touched it. So it's the first book of the Belgariad. So if you're a fantasy fan, you would definitely know about the Belgariad. And a big part of my childhood, I was going to reread them. And now, when I read the first book, it's going to be in this lovely, gorgeous version. Like, it's not new. And clearly, this is not new. But it's new condition. So yeah, I'm really pleased to have found this. I was so excited. And even though I've already got it, I was just so lovely to see it in such good condition. So, Pawn of Prophecy, the first of the Belgariad books by David Eddings. I now have that in that lovely condition. This was a book that I thought I'd go for it and get it new. So it's a tiny book, but it was about £9. It was actually, no, it's a bit cheaper. But I've seen the film, Closely Watched Trains, and I wanted to read the original book. So now I've got Closely Watched Trains. I'm hoping this is going to have the same kind of magic to it that the film did. It must do. So I'm looking forward to that anyway. That's going to be read soon, hopefully. I also bought a book about the history of gospel music, which is really exciting. I'm really looking forward to this. And this is all about Andrew Dorsey and his influence on the urban church. And this also suits an event coming up that I'm doing. I'm hinting. But yeah, the rise of gospel blues. I love looking into the development of gospel and the blues and prison work songs, all that sort of stuff. So I do think it's really fascinating and interesting and fabulous. This is a book I don't know a lot about, but I've heard people talk about it. And actually, the last review I saw on BookTube, someone was saying they didn't really like it much. But again, intrigued me. So Lanny by Max Porter, I got cheap. It was longlisted for the Booker Prize in 2019. I'm not sure what it's about. Hold on. I'll read it. Not far from London, there was a village. This village belongs to the people who live in it and to those who lived in it hundreds of years ago. It belongs to England's mysterious past and its confounding present. It belongs to families dead for generations and to those who have only recently moved here, such as the boy Lanny and his mum and dad. But it also belongs to the dead Papa Toothwort, who has woken from his slumber in the woods. Dead Papa Toothwort, who is listening to them all. Well, that's a pretty cool introduction. But yeah, I'll leave it open so I can discover the book without finding out more spoilers. But yeah, again, really good condition. So it'd be nice if I like this, but I was just curious, and it was only £1 or something. So I got that one. I finally found this actually in a shop. I've known about this for a while. I've already done 2 big time travel videos, and as I've said before on this channel, I'm going to read a bunch of others that I know are important time travel books, so that I can very confidently do my favourite top 25 or top 30 or something time travel books or time travel stories. And top of the list of the ones I didn't have yet was Jack Finney's Time and Again. So I'm really pleased to have found this. This was in a Waterstones. I think it was in the Waterstones in Cambridge that I got this, and I was really pleased because I wanted to get a new copy. And when you buy something on eBay or whatever, you don't always know if it's what the condition's like. And I wanted to see it in the flesh, and I did, so that was cool. So Jack Finney's Time and Again I now have, and I want to read this soon, so I was very excited about that. On the same visit, I got The Terraformers by Lee Newitz. So I like Lee Newitz. I've read Autonomous by her, and I was going to read another time travel one by her, something about the future timeline or something. I can't remember what the title is, but I was going to read that. But I found this one called The Terraformers, which looks really interesting as well. I'll read the back. Destry's life is dedicated to terraforming Sask E. As part of the environmental rescue team, she cares for the planet and its burgeoning ecosystems as her parents did before her. But the bright, clean future they're building comes under threat when Destry discovers a city full of people that shouldn't exist, hidden inside a massive volcano. As she uncovers more about their past, Destry begins to question the mission she's devoted her life to and must make a choice that will reverberate through Sask E's future for generations to come. That could be a little bit of a nod to Little Fuzzy, actually. But anyway, Terraformers by Lee Newitz looks really good. I've now got a book by Ken Liu. So I was really impressed with the short stories I'd read by Ken Liu. And this is The Paper Menagerie. So there's lots of short stories by him. So again, if you've read anything by him, let me know what you think. It could be a story that's in here and I could jump onto it. But what I've read so far, I really like what he does. And he's obviously famous for as a translator as well. But yeah, I was really pleased to see this. Again, this is another, this was Oxfam. So this was $2.99 in an Oxfam. So great bargain. Again, so it's like new condition. It's like, feels new. So why buy books new? H.G. Wells, I found selected short stories. Again, if I find H.G. Wells book I haven't got, I'll get it. So some of these stories might be in the collection I've already got, which has got a heading of The Country of the Blind, but maybe not. It'd be good if these are other stories I didn't have. So yeah, that was a really nice find as well. Again, really good condition. I've been so lucky with secondhand books that are like amazing condition. So that's cool. H.G. Wells. Okay, so you probably know, if you've seen my channel, how much I was totally bowled over by Razorblade Tears by S.A. Cosby. So I couldn't resist it. I got Blacktop Wasteland. So clearly, I was so affected by that, I need to read this as soon as possible. So this was raved about before Razorblade Tears came out, and it's supposed to be amazing. So I cannot wait to read this. We'll see whether I think it's as good, but I really hope it will be, because it'd be great if Cosby's consistent, and obviously this was really raved about, so I'm very confident that it's going to be good. But I haven't read it yet. We'll see what happens, but I needed to get that straight away. If you watched my video about Razorblade Tears, you can see how much I loved it. Another book that's been raved about, and I'm actually in the middle of reading it, so I'm reading it now. It's a very pleasant, enjoyable read, and that's Legends and Lattes by Travis Baldry. So as you can see, I'm halfway through, and I've only been reading it for about 24 hours. It's a lot of fun. It's very easy to read. I might do a review of it when I've read it, but definitely a different take on writing a fantasy novel. It was quite different. I can tell you, well, I'll at least talk about it in the monthly roundup, and I'll tell you why it's different. But I might do a separate video on it as well. Don't know. But anyway, I am definitely enjoying it. So this is the cover. This is the sort of illustration story you might be familiar with if you have seen it around. So it's about an orc who starts a cafe, basically. So another one that I bought. Again, this was one that I bought for £1 or something. And I don't know, there's something that's intriguing. It was intrigued me. The hen who dreamed she could fly. So this is Sun Mi Huang, who I don't know anything about, and I just thought I'd get it. A very special little book. This is a quote on the back. I absolutely loved it, and I find myself still thinking about Sprout. She embodies all the best characteristics of deep-hearted mother love, loyalty, sacrifice, and courage. So that's a testimonial from another author. Don't know, see what I think. One more, and that's No Gods, No Monsters by Cadwell Turnbull. So I'd heard a lot about Cadwell Turnbull, actually about a different book, but this looks really good, and I was really excited to get it. I did get this new, so this isn't like an amazing condition second-hand one. This is new. So I'll try and read the back here. So one October morning, Lena gets the news that her brother has been shot and killed by Boston cops. But what looks like a case of police brutality soon reveals something much stranger. Monsters are real, and they want everyone to know it. As creatures from myth and legend come out of the shadows, their emergence sets off a chain of seemingly unrelated events. Members of a local werewolf pack are threatened into silence. A professor follows a missing friend to a mysterious secret society, and a young boy with unique abilities seeks refuge in a pro-monster organisation with secrets of its own. Meanwhile, more people start disappearing, suicides and hate crimes increase, and protests erupt globally, both for and against the monsters. Why now? What has frightened the monsters out of the dark? The world will soon find out. So I get the impression, especially from what the other stuff that he's written, that this will be something that explores social issues while talking about the fantastic. So that always intrigues me. I always think that's really cool. So yeah, tell me if you've read that. That's the last thing I was going to mention. So a whole bunch of books there, all sorts of different kinds of books, and that's what I've been getting lately. There are actually 2 books in the post for me, 2 Harlan Ellison books to add to what I've got. So I've been really lucky that both of those books are books that I've only seen really expensive in the past, and I managed to see them cheap on eBay, so that's really cool. So I'm having 2 books to add to my Harlan Ellison books soon. So there we go. Coming up next on the channel is probably going to be the big announcement about the book event I'm going to do. So look out for that, and there'll be a book review after that. But in the meantime, thank you so much for watching. Bye.